Hello there. This is Being God's Obedient Servant channel. Today, the Bible chapter we're going to be going through is Leviticus chapter 27, and this will be finishing the book of Leviticus. This one's a straightforward reading. I said this doesn't pertain to us today, except some parts of it kind of does about tithing. Because we are to tithe, but we our tithing mostly goes to a church now, of just being 10% of our first fruits, which is income. Most of us don't have farms or stuff anymore, or ranches, so we can't tithe animals or crops. So what we do make is money, and so we tithe that, the 10%. So. But other than that, said most of this reading today is it's for if you vowed a gift or vowed a person or yourself to be in the service of the Lord, but you wanted to redeem that, you wanted to take that back, there was a penalty for it, and so. And different age groups and genders had different values. But it's like, pretty much like if it's a little confusing to read. I had to go through it quite a few times before I even started getting it. But I said it's still a straightforward reading, but it doesn't really. This part doesn't pertain to us today, except the tithing, as I said before. So once again, though, if you're new to this channel, this is a Bible study channel going through the King James Bible. It's the Bible I prefer because I know God approves it. It's the Bible that built this nation of America, and God blessed the building of this nation, especially when the majority of the whole country followed God. He blessed it severely. And this was the only Bible they really had. So, as I said, I know God approves this version, or He wouldn't have blessed this country as it was being built. So, we're going to go ahead and jump right on in here. Chapter 27, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When a man shall make a singular vow, the person shall be for the Lord by thy estimation. Now, and here's like it means value. It's New King James Version that says valuation, and so it's pretty much kind of meaning the same thing. But also in certain parts of this, you're going to see that the priest is going to give an estimate of what they think it's worth. So, anyways, continue on here, verse 3. And thy estimation shall be of the male from 20 years old even unto 60 years old. Even thy estimation shall be 50 shekels of silver, after the shekel of the sanctuary. So if they wanted to redeem somebody or themselves, this is what they had to pay the priest. Because this is you're making you're given you're vowing this person or yourself or whatever you give as a gift to the Lord. There's a difference between doing tithing and sacrifices unto the Lord versus the gift. So continue on here, verse 4. And if it be a female, then thy estimation shall be 30 shekels. And if it be from 5 years old, even unto 20 years old, then thy estimation shall be of the male 20 shekels, and for the female 10 shekels. So of course you're talking about, these are people who vowed their children to God to serve certain parts for the Lord and stuff, but then they wanted to take that back. It's kind of like a penalty for unfulfilled vows, is how it's kind of described in other areas. as and so yeah, it's like because you got Samson, which was the strong man Samson. He was vowed by his mother, to serve, vowed it to God, and it's like his hair couldn't be cut or he'd lose his strength. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but kind of the same thing. But if he wanted to redeem that, he had to pay. If he wanted to free himself from that vow his mother made for him. So yeah, at these times you could vow your children to the Lord, to the servitude. So let's continue on here. Verse 6. And if it be from a month old even unto 5 years old, then thy estimation shall be of the male 5 shekels of silver, and for the female thy estimation shall be 3 shekels of silver. And if it be from 60 years old and above, if it be a male, then thy estimation shall be 15 shekels, and for the female, then female 10 shekels. If he be poorer than thy estimation, then he shall present himself before the priest, and the priest shall value him according to the ability that vowed shall the priest value him. So if the person didn't have the money and stuff, couldn't afford to pay that, there was an alternate way. So let's continue on, verse 9. And if it be a beast whereof men bring an offering unto the Lord, all that any man giveth of such unto the Lord shall be holy. He shall not alter it nor change it, a good for a bad, or a bad for a good. And if he shall at all change beast for beast, then it and the exchange thereof shall be holy. And if it be any unclean beast of which they do not offer a sacrifice unto the Lord, then he shall present the beast before the priest. And the priest shall value it, whether it be good or bad, as thou valuest. Who art the priest, so shall it be. But if he will at all redeem it, then he shall add a 5th part thereof unto thy estimation. So here's the part, this is the penalty part for it, is, if you wanted to, redeem it and purchase it back, there was it's called, 5th part would be 20%. 20% part that whatever its value was, you had to pay an extra 20% to get it back. So let's continue on. And when a man shall sanctify his house to be holy unto the Lord, then the priest shall estimate it, whether it be good or bad, as the priest shall estimate it, so shall it stand. And if he that sanctified it will redeem his house, then he shall add the 5th part of the money of thy estimation unto it, and it shall be his. And if a man shall sanctify it unto the Lord, some part of a field of his possession, then thy estimation shall be according to the seed thereof, and homer of barley seed shall be valued at 50 shekels of silver. If he sanctify his field from the year of Jubilee, according to thy estimation, it shall stand. But if he sanctify his field after the Jubilee, then the priest shall reckon unto him the money according to the years that remain, even unto the year of the Jubilee, and it shall be abated from thy estimation. And if he that sanctified the field will in any wise redeem it, then he shall add the 5th part of the money of thy estimation unto it, and it shall be assured him. And if he will not redeem the field, or if he have sold the field to another man, it shall not be redeemed any more. But the field, when it goeth out in the Jubilee, shall be holy unto the Lord, as a field devoted. The possessions thereof shall be the priest's. And if a man sanctify unto the Lord a field which he hath bought, which is not of the fields of his possession, Then the priest shall reckon unto him the worth of thy estimation, even unto the year of the Jubilee, and he shall give thine estimation in that day as a holy thing unto the Lord. In the year of the Jubilee the field shall return unto him whom it was bought, even to him to whom the possession of the land did belong. And all thy estimation shall be according to the shekel of the sanctuary, 20 gerahs shall be the shekel. Only the firstling of the beast, which should be the Lord's firstling, no man shall sanctify it, whether it be ox or sheep, it is the Lord's. This is the part of the tithing. Well, this is the part of the sacrifices. So the tithings and the sacrifices and the stuff which was the Lord's cannot be used as a gift to the Lord and everything of that nature, because it was separate. It's because one thing is like, this is a tithing, something that goes to the Lord, and then you have something which is like, an extra gift. So, continue on, verse 27. And if it be of an unclean beast, then he shall redeem it according to thine estimation, and shall add a fifth part of it thereto. Or if it be not redeemed, then it shall be sold according to thy estimation. Notwithstanding, no devoted thing that a man shall devote unto the Lord of all that he hath, both of man and beast, and of the field of his possession, shall be sold or redeemed. Every devoted thing is most holy unto the Lord. None devoted, which shall be devoted of men, shall be redeemed, but shall surely be put to death. And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's, it is holy unto the Lord. And if a man will at all redeem aught of his tithes, he shall add thereto the fifth part thereof. And concerning the tithe of the herd or of the flock, even of whatsoever passeth under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord. He shall not search whether it be good or bad, neither shall he change it. And if he change it at all, then both it and the change thereof shall be holy, it shall not be redeemed. These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses for the children of Israel in Mount Sinai. And of course, this is the end of chapter 27 and the book of Leviticus. Got a little tongue-tied there. My dyslexia kicked in and says no. So, as I said, it's a straightforward reading. It talks about the tithings and the tenths thereof and everything, and which is, what we're supposed to pay today to the church, or to. Now, as I've said before, though, just because a place calls itself a church does not make it a church in the eyes of the Lord. So Jesus has specific rules of the church, and if that church does not meet the certain rules thereof, it is not a holy church. And in some ways, the Bible talks about that if you give to it, you're supporting wickedness. So, it's like me, I'm a little lost right now. I'm kind of churchless, trying to find a church that actually obeys the Bible. And I'm not being real successful in finding one in my local area. So my tithing goes to a charity which helps children. I give to St. Jude. That's where my tithing goes right now, because that helps children in need, and it helps people that are poor and trying to get their children to be helped with suffering from cancer of some sort. But I said, I'm not going to pay money to a church to keep doing wickedness. So we are to give, a tenth. I do think that we can choose where that tenth goes to if we deem it worthy of what God would want or not. But so, like, it's even going back to my childhood, every church I've been to has not really followed as commanded by Jesus what the rules he handed down for the church. So, as I said, I'm kind of in limbo with that right now. I'm not going to support a house of wickedness. I mean, even though they read the gospel, the devil would also, say the words of God to people to deceive them. He would twist the words of God to deceive them and stuff. And he even tried doing that to Jesus to get him to slip up. So, just because a place reads the Bible doesn't make it holy. Just because somebody calls himself a Christian doesn't mean that they are one. I mean, we have politicians calling themselves that left and right, but they support abortions. Sorry, can't do it. Like I said before, feminism's a sin according to the Bible. So any woman as a politician calling themselves a Christian, nope. Because, they're putting themselves over men, and God says a woman is not to do that. And just because they're voted in doesn't mean that they're holier, that they're allowed by God to be there. Because God says a woman's desire is her husband, not a career, not a job, none of this other stuff. Her desire is her husband, and he is to rule over her. That's a commandment. So, throughout everywhere in the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, a woman is to submit and obey her husband. And the husband is to obey God. But, it kind of always bothered me hearing these women call themselves Christians. So I'm not going to obey no man. I'm like, then you're not a Christian. They just look at me weird. I'm like, says, why would I obey him? I'm like, well, because he's obeying God if you choose wisely. If you choose a godly man, that man's following God. He's not going to mistreat you or do you wrong. He may not buy you a mansion on a hill or a Mercedes Benz. But if those are your desires, you dang sure don't desire God. You desire worldly things. A lot of people don't like hearing the truth when you throw it in their face like that, but they need to hear it. They may not want to hear it, but they need to hear it. So. Says, but that's talking about something totally, going off into the tithing part. There's lots of things, so there's rules and regulations about the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. There, like I said before, a lot of people think that just because we're under Jesus, we don't have to obey the Old Testament. I'm like, Jesus taught from the Old Testament. What do you mean? It's the only thing that existed. The New Testament didn't come out until the disciples. Normally, there were letters or stuff that they wrote to other places and stuff as they spread the gospel. That's where the New Testament books come from. They, it was after the death of Jesus did the New Testament even start to happen, as they were, spreading the story of Jesus and stuff, and that he was the Son of God. He died and rose again as he said he would. But yeah, so I said, you got a lot of people that have been misled by a lot of churches out there and a lot of other people calling themselves Christians. Like I've also read in the Bible where, tattoos and scarring yourself and this, that, and the other it's a sin. It's wrong. God says you're not to do it. No markings on yourself. But people still want to say, well, I got this tattoo for this. This is to symbolize this. I'm like, your body's a holy temple. It's supposed to be for the Lord, not a billboard. People always try to find some way to make their sin sound like it should be accepted. I'm like, you can say what you want to, but God's already put His rules out there. If you're a sinner getting tattoos, then get saved, it's a different story then. But most of the time, people then, they cover them up. They don't want them to be seen. They're embarrassed about them then. They do what they can to even have them removed and gotten rid of. I know some people that got saved after a bunch of the tattoos and stuff, and they said, I asked them, why do they keep them if you're embarrassed about them? Says, well, I also want to remind myself of what man I don't want to turn back into. And this reminds me of how flawed I was. Okay. So that's between you and God anyways. But I said, if you're living for the world, God knows it. If you're living for God, God knows it. So this is the ending of Leviticus, and I'm going to end this video here. So once again, prayers. You need to use them. You need to say them. You need to use them. Don't stop using them. If you are one of God's children, if your name's in the book of life, God hears your prayers. The Bible also says He does not hear the words from a heathen. So if you're not one of His, there's only one prayer that He will hear from you, and that's where you ask for forgiveness and dedicate your life to Him. But it has to come from your heart, and He has to call upon you. Then you are blessed with the Holy Spirit. There's all this stuff's in the Bible as well. But yeah, this world needs prayer as these hard times we're going into. America needs prayers. We've had it very good for a very long time, and now we're looking at going to some hard times. And I don't think there's a lot of people here that are ready for it. I think they're going to freak out severely to the point that they may even harm themselves. So let's pray that doesn't happen. But yeah, pray for yourselves, pray for your families, pray for your friends, pray for the world. You're going to need it. So, until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.